Uh, in the last class, we studied about the concept of quality and total quality management,
Mhm.
and we learned about some theoretical standards and principles provided by the gurus of quality management, starting from Schwartz and ending with Muller. Today, the class is related to the standards of total quality management that organizations use to adapt in order to improve the practice of total quality management. Uh, Kite marks is the way.
Eight months.
Huh. Kite marks is the way that organizations use in order to set the standards of the practice of total quality management. And these standards could be adapted by benchmarking or could be adapted by integrating the international standardization organization standards, or in other words, ISO, if you have ever heard about ISO, ISO 9000, ISO 9001, 4, and etc. Many series, many certificates provided by ISO in order to accredit the quality standards of the operators in the international market. So, kite marks is a very important consideration in total quality management, and I personally believe that it is the core aspect or the cornerstone of total quality management, because of without standards, then how are you going to implement or to convince others I'm implementing total quality management and I have standards to implement the quality uh, in my operations. Uh, in our class today, we have these objectives. I'll start by explaining benchmarking and its importance and the process of benchmarking, and I will expose some practices from the industry who did benchmarking, then discuss the limitation and pitfalls of benchmarking. In the second half of the class, we will learn about ISO 9000 standards and series of ISO. Then I will expose some of the certificates after exposing the requirement of ISO in the end of this class. Benchmarking. Benchmarking basically is the systematic search for best practice, innovative ideas, and highly effective operating procedures in the market. Benchmarking considers the experience of others and implemented or adapted to be used in your workplace. Basically, in benchmarking, um, an organization will try to imitate and to implement the standards of other best practice organizations in the market, regardless this market to be the local market or international market. For example, a small Chinese company can adapt the standards of Huawei. Huawei is a strong player in the domestic market and also in the international market. Uh, Benchmarking in general includes two elements. First, measuring the performance requires some sort of measure. So you measure your performance. How you are going to measure your performance? How you are going to evaluate the quality aspects or the quality standards of your performance? It must be based on a numerical data. Okay, it can be based on a numerical data, for example, adapting the quality control charts that have been invented by Toyota in the past, or implementing the Six Sigma, which was created by Motorola. You know Motorola?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Motorola. Very long
Yeah.
time
So,
ago, Dr. Ibrahim.
huh?
Motorola, very long time ago.
Yeah. It's a communication or electric communication company, one of the leading companies in US and also in the international market. The second element of benchmarking requires managers understanding of their performance or why their performance differs, or in other words, understanding the gap between the performance of the company and the best practice company in the market. We compare, for example, the performance of our company to the performance of the model company, or the one we are going to imitate or to adapt their standards. Then we try to find out the gaps, why we are lagging behind, why they are better than us. Then we will understand the gap between our company and the best practice company in the market. Why benchmarking? Benchmarking in general is a very important consideration. Why? Because it is an effective tool for one, achieving business and competitive objectives. Not just achieving the business objectives, but to achieve a competitive advantage in the market. Uh, it helps the organization develop their strength and uh, reduce or eradicate their weaknesses. Also, it helps the organization in determining whether the organization has fallen behind the competition or failed to take the advantage of the important operating improvement developed elsewhere. So they are very important in understanding the current situation of the organization. So when you go for benchmarking, you will figure out the gap, and you will figure out whether you are competing, you are on the trend of the market, or you are lagging behind. And you are lagging behind in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and etc. So also benchmarking help the organization in setting the organizational goals, how we are going to compete in the market, what kind of competitive advantages should be considered when we are developing our organizational objectives or organizational goals. Benchmarking in general are very important for any organization because it helps the organization to be more effective and efficient in their operations. When you adapt the way of others, how others are practicing, but here we need to be careful. We need to be careful. Careful in terms of what? In terms of adapting the standards or the benchmarks of others. We need to adapt a benchmark of a company that use standards, or these standards are applicable in my company. So there must be a possibility for implementing the standards of the model organization. Benchmarking in general helps companies to be more efficient and more effective. When you adapt, as what happened in the past, when Xiaomi, when Huawei, Oppo, and other Chinese companies started imitating Apple or adapting the standards of Apple, then they entered the market and they did well. Nowadays, Chinese companies are performing well in the communication industry, not only in the communication industry, but also in other industrial settings like the automotive and electric and etc. Industrial setting. In general, when you adapt benchmarking, just imagine when you set standards for your organization, such kind of task is a very complicated because when you adapt some standards and in the end of the day you end up with a negative result, what customers in general didn't appreciate your standards, didn't appreciate the quality of your product, then absolutely it will be painful for any company, not only for local or small practitioners. So, benchmarking provide a prototype and a bird view for any organization why others are succeeding, why this or organization A, B, C, D, and etc. lead it or led the market, why they are in front, but we are lagging. So adapting their standards will allow the organization to leverage the time, resource, and efforts to improve the current situation to the desired situation of the organization. Okay, process of benchmarking. How organizations go for benchmarking? In general, benchmarking or adapting standards of others cannot be done haphazardly. You must go with the steps, starting by deciding what to benchmark, understanding the current performance of your company, planning, studying others, learn from the data, use the findings. Okay, let's go through one by one. Deciding what to benchmark. It is the first and the most critical task in the process of benchmarking because when you, as a CEO or a top management member or an organizational leader, when you ask your managers or people in charge what to benchmark, it is easy for them to state whatever they say. But we need to go for new standards. For example, the inventory operations. Someone will say no in the production line operations. Someone will say no in the delivery operations. No, we cannot have it haphazardly. What to benchmark? How to decide? So in general, when you go for benchmarking and you start deciding what to benchmark, you must refer to the mission and the vision of your organization. Then scan the organizational objectives. Then learn from the data in which area we should improve our standards because we feel we are lagging in this aspect. So then When you have the data, you have to answer these questions. Which process is causing the most trouble in my organization? Which process contribute most to customer satisfaction and which are not? What are the competitive pressures impacting the organization in most? What processes or functions have the most potential differentiation or the gap between our organization and our competitors? So before you compare your organization performance or your data to the model company, you must compare your organizational performance data to your competitors. Then here you will find out in which area you are lagging. In sourcing, in manufacturing, in retailing, in shipping, in after sales services, and etc. So you must build your decision from the data. Your decision must be data-driven decision. You cannot go haphazardly and ask your managers or people in charge, what do you think? What to benchmark? Do we need to go for new standards? Absolutely, they will say yes. Then if you adapt new standards, but these new standards are functionless, are useless, then what will be your plan B? And what is the benefit for plan B after wasting a lot of resources? So, in deciding what to benchmark, sometimes the data will expose many things to you, a lot of problems. But as a top management, as a manager, as a leader in your organization, as a someone or a team leader who assigned to decide what to benchmark, you should not go haphazardly. In general, scholars provided two dominant approaches in deciding what to benchmark. Uh, I will show you this one. Broad and shallow, and deep and narrow, or narrow and deep. So, from the first side, when you look at this slide, broad and shallow, narrow and deep. So, in the first approach, the scope is very wide, very broad. In the second one, the scope is very narrow. But you have to go or to drill down and make some deep reformation in order to enhance your standards or your operations. Here, no. Very shallow, you have to make some changes, but the scope is very wide. For example, so benchmarking will encompass or will touch several departments, 3, 4, 5, 6 departments or many branches in your market. So the question is here, which one we should take? Some say broad and sharp is useful in developing strategies, setting goals, reorganizing functions, and etc. Narrow and deep is useful in solving problems. So in general, you ask yourself, from these questions, you will ask yourself, what processes are causing the most trouble in my organization, which processes contribute to customer satisfaction and which processes are not contributing, which competitor in the market are betting my sales activities or sales scenarios in the market. So you must ask yourself these questions, and based on your data, you must decide in which approach we are going to use an income mode. Because when you go for benchmarking and compare the data between your organization and the model organization or the best practice in the market company, you will figure out many issues, many problems, many uh, aspects. For example, one of the issues how you have to upgrade the machinery aspect in your production line. You have to integrate many or new technologies in your production line, but also you have to reset the goals of your organization or reconstruct the strategies that support the organizational goals. So here you have different aspects you need to tackle. So better for you to go for deep and also broad and shallow. So you go with this, for example, issues related to goal setting strategies and functions with the broad and shallow. And in some problematic issues, you go for deep analysis and try to make uh, a fundamental or a dramatical change in order to support your organizational goals. Okay, deciding what to mark. In general, the standards or the measurements, what to benchmark, and by which. So in general, numerical measures will be adapted. From whom? From the best practice company in the market. But when you go for benchmarking and you rectify or upgrade your standards, then you need, when you implement it, you need to be fast, because when you go for many details, then you expand the time of implementing the new standards. Absolutely, many issues will come to you, and these issues will drive you to suspend your production line. Then the liabilities and other issues with your partners in the market will arise from you and create many problems. Then you will be moving from the area of upgrading and re-standardizing to the area of fulfilling your what? Your liabilities. The second step, understanding the current performance. You must, as a manager, understand why I'm lagging, because the data already exposed to you why you are lagging. But then, why I'm lagging? You must ask yourself this question and try to find out if, for example, sourcing is good and you don't have any problem with the sourcing, if your CRM department is functioning well and equipped with the contemporary technologies, then what is the problem? You must review the flow of your process and use cause and effect diagram. If you remember last class, we studied about Ishikawa cause and effect diagram, or in other words, they call it fishbone diagram. This fishbone diagram helps the organizations to figure out what is or what are the underlying reasons that drive the organization to face this problem. So in fish diagram, in general, the organizations will create a team. That team will include members from different departments, from the Department of the Finance and Accounting, from the Department of HRM, from the Department of the Inventory, the Production, the Sales, the Marketing Department, and also from the top management members. Someone must be there to represent the top management decision. Then discussion will take at that time. Then the team will discuss, everyone will try to support the argument from data from the department. The HR representative will bring the supporting data, also the sales and accounting and finance, and everyone will speak based on the data. So after compiling all data, then the team will be able to figure out what is the current status and in which area we are lagging. Then they will go for planning. So when in the third step, you must go for planning. You plan how to benchmark. Uh, excuse me. So implementing benchmarking, as I told you earlier, it cannot be haphazard. You must plan. Then how are we going to plan? So we have different approaches. First, we go with our workforce. We ask, we must conduct a dialogue, a conversation. Yes, Lisa, you must conduct a conversation with your internal group, with your managers, frontline people, production line people, everyone in every department, and especially those in charge with your standardization issue, and ask them what to be upgraded and what do you think in which area we have to go for upgrading or benchmarking, or you can compare your current benchmarks to your competitor. Then it will be easy for you to figure out the comparative approach in general. When you just list the standards in every aspect in a table, table A and table B, and visually you can compare between your standards and your competitors, then it will be easy for you to figure out in which area we have to upgrade or to re-benchmark. The third approach, we go for best practice company. Just select a best practice company in the market, regardless either to be a local or domestic market or international market. So you select your hero or you select your model or best practice company in the market, and then you start adapting or first compare between your company and that company. Then you decide in which area I'm going to upgrade and etc. Okay, studying others. Before you go for benchmarking or implementing the benchmarking, after you plan, you must study others, how others are going to contribute to my benchmarking. There are several approaches using survey or questionnaire. Here you refer to your customers, you refer also to your customer, internal and external customers, both. Many understand when I say customers, they understand what is meant by customers, only those who are making the purchase decision. No, we have two types of customers, internal customers and external customers. Internal customers in general, those who are contributing, those who are involved with your product or service to be provided to the external customer or the end customer. The end customer or the external customer, those who are assigned with the purchase decision, those who will purchase your product or your service. So when you disseminate the questionnaire or the survey, so you need to have your benchmarking close to the market. So it must be customer driven benchmarking. I know you already adapted, but who knows? No one is perfect. No one is perfect. You go to the market and try to see how customers believe on these standards. If they are okay, then you adapt these standards. If they are not okay, then you don't have to adapt these standards. Site visits, you visit the site of best practice companies and just see from their data. For example, they upgraded 5 years ago, and after upgrading some of the standards, how was the impact of that upgrade in the sales performance? So data will tell everything. And you ask focus group by inviting experts. Experts sometimes could be companies, could be individuals. These characters will help you to figure out what to understand, what to benchmark, and how to implement the new standards. Then you go for learning from the data. You combine all what you have done, planning, studying others, comparing your data to the competitors and also the best practice company in the market. Then you try to find out the gaps, in which area I should improve my operations. So, what is you ask yourself why I'm lagging behind? What is the gap, and how much effort resources will take from me? Then you go for benchmarking. Use the data and just try to apply the benchmarking. Then after you benchmark, after implementing the new standards, then study from the finding. So studying the finding, so in other words, monitoring. In other words, we call it monitoring. You monitor the data. Okay, after benchmarking, and does my organizational performance improved or doesn't? So you must ask yourself this. Then to monitor, you must assign two groups. The first group, those who are involved with the operations because they are the best sellers. The second group is the top management. Top management presence is a very important. Why? Because top management will provide the necessary support, the necessary financial, administrative, and other supports will be provided to whatever you ask, they will provide you with the support. Okay. So after the approval of the benchmarks by the top management and those who are in charge with these standards, then you start adapting. So what kind of task should be upgraded? What will be the consequences? What are the resources needed in order to upgrade the operation of that task? Then make a milestone or schedule or timetable in order to be able to monitor again. Then assign the responsibilities to every character in the department. Then try to describe the expected result because when you just adapt and let them do, they will work without any conscious. But when you inform them in the beginning, okay, we already decided to adapt, or based on our experiment, we decided to adapt these benchmarks because we believe these benchmarks will help our organization to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you are humbly requested to keep in your mind these objectives. And then when they implement or when they adapt, then they will monitor. So you also ask them how to monitor or provide them because sometimes monitoring is not just visually by physical exposure. Sometimes you need to adapt some technologies, some tools in order to provide you with very accurate data. These data will tell what are the results of your new benchmarking or the benchmarking. Here you see, we have two examples, At&T and Xerox. At&T assigned 12 steps for the benchmarking, at Xerox only 10. So what can we understand here? What we need to understand is there is no specific approach for benchmarking. We need, okay, here I give you five. 5 steps, starting by deciding what to benchmark and ending with the implementation. Okay, but it depends. As I told you in the beginning, you might go with broad and shallow approach, or you might go with narrow and deep approach. What is your issue? What is your problem? What is or what are the areas of or the areas that need benchmarking? So it depends. Sometimes you might need only 2 or 3 steps or 4 steps. Sometimes you need 10, 12, 15, 20. So it depends in the case, what kind of issues the organization is facing. Pitfalls and criticisms of benchmark. The most persistent criticism of benchmarking comes from the idea of copying others. Okay. In general, business organizations, especially manufacturers, will benefit or will leverage the first mover advantages if they adapt innovation, if they focus on innovation, not on benchmarking. If you are the first one who did it in the market, for example, when Apple introduced the first iPhone, when Vivo introduced the optical fingerprint in the screen of their smartphone, when Oppo introduced the back fingerprint, these innovative ideas driven these companies to leverage the first mover advantage. I give you here also a current example. Last week, for example, Toyota announced a new innovative engine. So, new innovative engine must come with new standards. Right. So, if Toyota adapted that engine from somewhere, they will not leverage the first mover advantage. First mover advantage means that everyone will come to you and purchase from you. Even if someone asked you to sell your patent to them, they will pay a lot of money. Many communication or smartphone manufacturers adapted the optical fingerprint from Vivo, and Vivo leveraged that innovative idea. So innovation in the end of the day is better approach than benchmarking. Be yourself. Don't be the others. Be yourself. I know innovation will require a lot of efforts, a lot of resources, but in the end of the day, the results of the innovation will create a dramatic change, will provide you with a chance to go with the first mover advantage. Look at Tesla, what have they did when they introduced the first electric engine in the world, I think 10 years ago. Then they leveraged by Tesla and Cybertruck a lot of money. Why? Because they are the only one who do it in the market. So when this technology was adapted by Chinese manufacturers, then the stock of Tesla went down. And this is the nature of any market. Okay, benchmarking is not a panacea. So yes, it's just a tool. It is just a tool. It is not a goal. It is a tool. So we use it to improve our performance. So, and over time in general, benchmarking what is up to date today or what is cutting edge today, tomorrow might be outdated. Then we need to go for benchmarking again. And also, as I just mentioned a while ago, benchmarking is not a substitute for innovation. Innovation is innovation. The one who brings a lot of money, the one who brings sustainability, the one who brings market share is innovation, not benchmarking. When you imitate, you are just imitating. You are going with the shadow. But sometimes organizations don't have to go for a bunch of, for innovative things, because if they go for innovative things, they might lose their market. They prefer to go for benchmarking. But in the end of the day, innovation is better option for benchmarking. Look at, for example, Amazon when they introduced one click. Normally, when we use our computer, we do 2 clicks, right? First one, first click is select. The second click, is request, open. But in Amazon, no. One click, proceed. I don't have to go select, then proceed. No. One click, proceed. So just several clicks, then the purchase process is done. So with this innovation, or with this innovative idea, Amazon leveraged a lot of money and became the most successful online business or digital business in the world. And Bezos was one of the richest person in the world. Benchmarking, this is the last criticism. Benchmarking forces organization to set goals and objective based on the external realities. Yes, sometimes. Yes, for example, Apple succeeded by manufacturing some products, but these products might not be preferred by customers in other markets. So, as I just told you in the beginning, when you go for benchmarking, you must be careful. because sometimes some standards don't fit with the reality or with the environment of your organization. So that's all for benchmarking. I give you 5 minutes, then we continue our class. Hey. Uh, the quality management systems. Before I go through, have you ever seen this logo?
The ISO logo.
Um, in many products, especially international products, they are attached with ISO 9000 or ISO 9001. ISO or ISO is an international standard setting body composed of representatives from various international standards organizations. ISO is an independent, non-governmental international organization with members of 164 national standards bodies. It is in Geneva, Switzerland, where it is still based so far, still there in Geneva. It aims to promote the development of international standards to facilitate the exchange of goods and services worldwide. Uh, the impact of ISO in general is very, very powerful in the performance of manufacturers in the international market. I remember 20 years ago, when we purchase any product from China, that time Chinese products were very humble, cannot last, and we used to have them very cheap. Why? Because of the quality level. But nowadays, when we compare Chinese products to European, Japanese, US products, they became a competent products, very competent, very good in terms of price, in terms of also durability and sustainability. What is the issue here? What happened with Chinese products? Not only Chinese, Asian products in general, Chinese, Korean, Malaysian. So why? What happened with these products? Even in Malaysia, we have Proton and Perodua cars, and these cars are competing cars sold in other countries, and they serve for 20 years now with no issue. What is happening to other cars? It happens to Malaysian cars. So they came competent cars. Why? Because of the adaptation of the international standards. Countries in general have their own body of quality. For example, in Malaysia, we have MQA, Malaysia Quality Association. In United States, American Quality Association, AQA. In China, Shanghai Quality Association, and etc. All countries have their own body organization of quality. But what is the issue here? Nowadays, in general, when we purchase a product from Korea, from China, Asia, Europe, US, all have the same quality level. When I purchase a phone, the phone will serve with me 4 to 5 years, either to be from Samsung, iPhone, Huawei, Oppo, and etc. They have the same standards, the same sustainability standards. So, why? Because these organizations are using the same standards. Why they are using the same standard? Because they are adapting ISO standards. So when they produce or when these companies produce for the international market, they adapt ISO standards. When they produce for their local market, they adapt their own or their domestic quality standards, or I can say they follow their body of quality standards. And this is very clear. When you purchase a phone produced to the United States, absolutely. For example, the phone of iPhone produced in the United States is different from the iPhone produced in the Middle East or in Asia or in China. Why? Because of the domestic standards. But when you purchase an international version of a product, then all products are the same. ISO have many standards like 9000, 9001, 9004, and other standards. But in general, what can we understand from ISO? ISO started from a consultation group in the European community in order to facilitate the exchange between business organizations within Europe. But nowadays, the WTO, the World Trade Organization, adapted these standards and make it compulsory for any business organization. If you want to operate in the international market, you must adapt ISO standards. So ISO in general provide several benefits. The primary reason for ISO is customers or market are suggesting the demand compliance. So you must fit with the consumption pattern, with the consumption mood of any company, of any country. But in general, from business perspective, ISO will help the business organization to reduce the cost or to save the cost and enhance customer satisfaction. This is very clear. Very clear. When we just go to the market, I will just give you an example. When you go for a smartphone and you compare between Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, and etc. And if you select a phone in a certain aspect, for example, flagship, select the flagship. So all phones are almost the same. They have the same processor power, the same camera standards, the same graphics capability, the same also memory, the same shape, the same also weight. They are the same, 200 plus. So what does it mean? It means that you cannot differentiate what is between Samsung and Huawei, Samsung and Honor and Xiaomi. All are the same. The price is almost the same. So as a customer, when you receive one of these products and you compare your experience to someone who used another brand and you see your experience with them almost the same, and sometimes you are better. Despite your phone or your device is cheaper than him, then you will feel happy. Why? Because you will feel this is a deal. I need it. Okay. Also, ISO help business organization to access to new markets, as I just mentioned a while ago. ISO became a compulsory condition. So WTO will not provide you the license to operate in the international market unless you are implementing ISO standards, increase the market share. Absolutely. Why? Because if you have a lot of satisfied customers, these satisfied customers, it is not necessary for any customer or any satisfied customer to be a loyal customer. But Satisfied customers in general bring customers to the organizations. Why? Because they speak out. What they call it? They handle the responsibility of word of mouth. They speak or they promote your product on your behalf. Sustainability, green marketing, green manufacturing in general became one of the preconditions or one of the compulsory standards of WTO. So ISO in general has connection with green marketing and green manufacturing. When you adapt ISO, you must demonstrate I am using sustainable tools and I am adapting the sustainability in my management practice. ISO in general is applicable for all industrial markets, in the construction market, in the engineering market, healthcare, legal, professional services, manufacturing, retailing, and etc. Here are some of the series of the standards. ISO 9000. ISO 9000 in general indicates to the quality management system vocabulary. ISO 9000 in general discuss the fundamental concepts related to QMS or quality management system, provides the terminology, provides the standards. So when you go and apply for ISO, you must have a look to ISO notebook, ISO 9000. Then you go with the requirements. You fulfill the requirements. What are the requirements listed in ISO 9001? I will show you later the process. In ISO 9009, ISO 9004 was introduced because here they focus in the sustainability, how we are going to integrate sustainable standards in our practice. In general, there are a lot of ISO standards. For example, ISO 9001 for QMS, ISO 9100, IATF 16249, TL 9000. So here, every sector will have their own standards. And as a practitioner or as an employer or as an operator in the industry, you must find out the requirements of the industrial setting that serves you with ISO, then you can go and apply. Look at this, AS 9100 is an ISO standards for aerospace. So we don't know about these standards. Why? Because we are not practicing aerospace. We don't go with NASA. We don't go with DOD or FAA. We have never ever visited the moon or the Mercury. But those who are involved with this market know about the aerospace standards represented by AS 9100. It was introduced and revised. Sorry, it was AS 9100 was introduced in 1997 and revised in 2009. So now it is applicable to the aerospace industrial setting. Here for automotive industrial setting, cars, IATF 16949 was introduced in 2016. So this standards fits with the automotive manufacturers or automotive industry in general. If you see a product from the automotive industry, for example, a car is labeled with the logo of ISO 9001, so such kind of certificate is very general. But if the car is labeled with the IATF 16949, so it means that this car was manufactured based on the standards of ISO. Okay, PL 9000. This standards are related to communication setting. So it was created in 1998 and practiced by AT&T. Nowadays, it is practiced by all communication industries. ISO, IEC 17025 was introduced in 2017 to serve the electronic industry. So all electric companies must adhere with these standards in order to serve in the international market. Otherwise, they won't be allowed to operate in the international market. Okay, here, ISO 15189. This for lab. Laboratories in general are implementing these standards. So, when companies apply for ISO, they must go for first get the booklet or the brochure of ISO requirement, then must demonstrate they are implementing the standards of ISO. It is the same as MQA here in Malaysia. You go to MQA, apply for MQA accreditation, then they will provide you with the requirements, what to be done. For example, in the education sector, they will provide you with the 21 elements. You must provide them with 21 elements, including the Porang, MBC, PPTs, and etc. Then they will come and check. Then they will provide you with the application of the requirement. Then they will take this one is approved. If everything is demonstrated, then the applicant will receive the ISO certificate. In general, in this slide, we can see 10 clauses or 2 requirements. The scope. They ask about the scope of the company. For example, as a company, you are operating in the railway, you are operating in the communication industry, you are operating in the computerizing, you are operating in the automotive industry. So you must stay there. And the mission of the company in general will state the reason of the existence of the company. So the scope will be clear for any company if the company have a mission and a vision. Okay, normative references. Who are your references? What kind of standards? Okay, here I will say ISO terms and definition. Okay, if you have any relevant terms in your organization, you must list it there and define what is meant by blah blah, what is meant by uh, blah blah. Context of the organization, you must say what is your context. For example, Apple is working in the computerization and communication industry. Accenture is working in the consultation industry. IBM computerization and etc. Leadership. Who are the leaders of the organization? They will look at their qualifications, work experience, and etc. Then how you are planning for the ISO, how you are supporting your standards. Do you have any side of support? Then your operations must be exposed in the flow chart. They will evaluate also your operations. They will evaluate your performance in terms of market impact and also internal impact and how you are improving. What are your strategies for improvement? What kind of TPM or total predictive maintenance? What kind of QFD standards you are implementing? Then, if the company demonstrated all these things, then the company will be accredited with the certificate of ISO. ISO is a very important for organizations, not just to be allowed to operate in the international market, but also to be accredited and recognized in the domestic market. And understanding and fulfilling the requirements is very important and is a must to get the certificate. Otherwise, you cannot get it. Okay, look at this diagram. So when the company apply, we'll go here, and the company must state the procedures, what are the internal and the external customers. As I told you in the beginning, customers are two, internal and external. Internal, those who are in charge, not only those who are working in your organization, but also your partners in your value chain. You must state who are involved in your operations. Then what are the imports? What kind of standards you are using in your imports? Imports could be people, could be technology, could be standards, could be etc. And then you will be questioned about the activities or the operations. Then what are your outputs in terms of information, products, service, matters, and etc. And how you are going to improve your operations, how you are receiving the feedback from the internal environment and the external environment, or other words, the external customers and internal customers. So they will evaluate all of these things. And if you demonstrated you are implementing the standards of ISO, then you will receive the ISO certificate. So here, just example about ISO series and in which sector the name of the certificate. For example, for QMS, ISO 9001. So regardless, if you say, again, please give me your attention. if you see a product labeled with ISO 9001, it means that that manufacturer is implementing quality management system. But this standard is very general one, applicable to all industrial setting. But here, for example, in restaurants or tourism sector, you see here ISO 22000. So if the company is accredited by ISO 22000, it means that they accredited by ISO in their scope, in their specialty, in the food safety system. Also here ISO 14001 environmental management system, 50001 energy management system. And this is why I'm telling you, if you saw a company or a product labeled with this ISO 9000, because you see how many applicants and how many organizations accredited by ISO 9001, it means that it is potential to see every product labeled with ISO 9001, 1,100,006 and 356 certificate were issued. But if we go here, for example, for the railway, road traffic and safety management system, only 478 are accredited by ISO. For the security management system and supply chain, only 356. So, as a customer, if you go or if you are cautious about your quality or living quality, so before you purchase a product, if the product, for example, from the for example, computers, smartphones, you just search in the internet whether this company is accredited by ISO or not. If you go, for example, for tourism, you go abroad, for example, 1 week, 2 weeks, so you check the hotels, whether these hotels are accredited by ISO or not. Because if your destination, either to be hotel, manufacturer, retailer, and etc. So if that organization is accredited by ISO, it means that you will be receiving high quality product or services. Even in the medical and medicine sector, 13485 and etc. So you should check about ISO certificate in order to guarantee you are receiving or you didn't go to the wrong destination in general. So I think that's all for kite marks in total quality management. If you have any question, please ask.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Is regarding the benchmarking, right? Okay. Which approach can be better for benchmarking? Is it the broad and shallow or the deep and narrow?
It depends. In general, it depends. If the problem or the gap found is related to strategies, restructuring, reorganizing, organizational goals, the organization should go for broad and shallow, because one organizational one organizational goal will touch many departments. So it will have a broad scope. But if the gap is related to specific task or specific people to be, for example, replaced, promoted, to be trained, so in this case, go for deep and
Deep and
and
narrow.
or narrow and deep. Mhm.
So one more, sir. When should the
Uh-huh.
business organization go for benchmarking? When?
In
Before,
general, there is no specific time.
no specific time
As
means
we learned that time, you must create a constancy or a constant purpose for improvement. As Deming, Joran, and Muller said, any organization must look for constant purpose for improvement. Sometimes you don't have any improvement. You are the best practice
so
manufacturer
this
in the
is
market.
ongoing process, is it?
Yeah, it's ongoing. Once organization feel that we are losing, for example, we have a slight attrition rate in our customer loyalty program. Uh, for example, we are declining in customer recruitment, so we need to go for these issues in order to figure out in which area we are lagging. Then we compare our performance to our competitors. So if we are the same, then there is no problem. But if our competitors are winning the market and we are lagging behind, and we figure out, for example, in this aspect, we need to have a little bit of improvement. So in this regard, we should go for benchmarking. But when we should go for benchmarking, there is no specific time. It is ongoing process, and organizations must find out reason for improvement.
Okay, so the last one for standardizing the work, standardizing the process in the workplace, right? Which
Mhm.
approach is better, benchmarking or either ISO?
It depends. It depends. It depends on the orientation of the organization, what the organization want. For example, ISO is a very powerful, very important consideration, and organizations should go for ISO if they are going to
But it's
focus in the
expensive,
international
right? So,
markets. Huh?
but it's expensive, right? To pay for the ISO.
Yes, it is compulsory requirement by WTO. If they are focusing in the international market, then they must be accredited by ISO in order to be allowed by WTO. WTO, the World Trade
World Trade
Organization.
Organization.
So, yeah, if they get a license to operate in the international market, then what is the issue? But sometimes you are operating in the international market, but you want to improve your performance because you have high level of competition in the international market. In general, you don't find small operators or small manufacturers. All players there are powerful or are the best practice companies in their domestic market. You will find Apple, you will find Toshiba, you will find LG, you will find Toyota, GMC, and etc. All have powerful organizations. But sometimes you need to upgrade your performance in order to overcome your competitors in the international market. Then in this case, because all of you are implementing ISO, then
where is the paper? Kau ambil patut kau pulang. Ya, bisa kau ambil hari ni.
Okay.
then in this case, you should go
Tak boleh.
Hmm.
Dia dah marah dah.
benchmark.
Sebenarnya dia dah marah.
Mm.
So kena habiskan juga.
Okay, any question?
No, sir.
Guna.
Okay, then thank you. See you next class.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim.
You're welcome.